everyone. Welcome to At Home with Sally. I'm Sally Clarkson, and I have the biggest privilege in the world to be with so many friends from all over the world who join me every week to listen to my stories, inspiration, biblical encouragement, and I am just so glad that you're here today. Thanks so much for joining me. Hi, my friends. How are you? I hope you've had a wonderful week, and I hope you had a wonderful day yesterday. It's always fun for me to do these podcasts, and it's just kind of a time. I'm getting so many letters from you and encouragement, and I feel like we're with each other in my very small living room. Anyway, I hope that you're doing well today, and I hope that you will grab a cup of tea. I hope you will, or coffee. I hope you will take a breath, that you will take a load off, that you will breathe in peace, and just have a lot of fun with me. Whatever you are doing, whether you're in the car or jogging or walking or washing dishes, I am just so glad to be with you today. As you can see on my picture in my blog post, I have a wonderful, wonderful quote by Jane Austen. She said, "But indeed, I would rather have nothing but tea." And it was so fun. You know, I try to find books and music and food and things to share with you every week. And so we're going to enter into Jane Austen world today amongst many other things that we're doing. But it was interesting for me as I was reading this week about her life to realize that sometimes we forget how important tea was both in Britain and how important it was in the United States, because she was actually born on the anniversary, the second anniversary of the Boston Tea Party. And when people threw over the ship with all the tea on it, it was a big deal. They were sacrificing what all of the people in America were waiting for, their tea. And anyway, I'm going to try not to yell at you. I think this might be coming out too loudly. But tea was brought first to Europe in about I think it was 1650 or something like that. But I think that as we look back on all of the different social connections and relationships, that in the same way that today we have coffee shops and we have tea shops and there are tea times, and it's a habit in our lives. It's a stopping point. I can't get through the day without my tea or my coffee. I think that as we look back on the history of it, tea came in as something that said, this is something very civilized we can do. It's similar to coffee. We can sit here together. We can be friends. We can take time to have a little spot of sugar or cookie or scone or whatever in the afternoon and have tea, and we can have a community of friendship, and we can invite our neighbors over, or we can, whatever it is. And so I think that, I'm sure that in the same way that God made, in my opinion, golden retrievers so that we could always feel loved and so that we could always have something to cuddle because they are the cuddliest things in the world, I think that God created tea and coffee so that we could have something wonderful and warm to drink and stop and be friends. I'm pretty sure that the creator of the ends of the earth created tea for our pleasure. So anyway, it was fun to see a little bit about Jane Austen, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about her today. I wanted to kind of, just for this week, last week, and the next few weeks, talk about series of books where you enter into a whole world. It's kind of fun sometimes to escape in a certain time in history or someone's neighborhood, like Anne of Green Gables, all of those books, or maybe I'll talk about those some week, or whatever, because we feel like we have kind of a recreation of our mind and our heart and our soul, so to speak. And so I loved going into Jane Austen's world. I loved being able to visit Bath, which is really Bath, the city of Bath, to see the mineral waters and to imagine people going there because I had read and seen Jane Austen stories, and to realize what was going on during the Regency period. Excuse me. Excuse me. Anyway, so we're going to enter into her world just a little bit today. But as I learned about her, I had the opportunity not only to go to Bath a few years ago, and Sarah and I were there together, and I think Lillian was with us, and we got to dress up in Jane Austen clothes and have a picture of ourselves. Don't know where that is right now, but if I find it, I'll put it up. But our whole family, well, not our whole family, Clay was at home, but I think that several of us also got to visit her house in Chawton. And it's so funny because Sarah had been here for a year at the point in which we took a bus and a train to go see her house. And we thought, because Sarah was acquiring a little bit of an English accent, that when she said Chawton, she was taking us to a place that she was calling Charton in her best British accent. So we teased her about it, and she said, I don't know what you all are talking about. The name of the town is Chawton, and it's Chawton, so she wasn't being extreme at all. It was Chawton, which sounds like it has an R in it from our perspective. Anyway, it was a funny family joke, and you may not get it at all. But anyway, I think that as we look at her, her life is so very interesting. Supposedly, she had one love affair. You know, you look at all the stories, and they're all about the love affairs of young women. And her family lived in a lovely home. We would think it today, but they were always barely above poverty. They didn't have a lot of income. And she really was only in love with one man, but he was deemed to be poor and not up to her equal. And it was a discouraged relationship. I think eventually in his life he did make enough money, make a fortune, so that he would have actually been somewhat of a good suitor for her. Think of the story that she wrote, Persuasion, which is one of my favorite stories, where the girl is separated from the man she loves because of money and influence and status. But anyway, she was unusual in her time in that she did write to make enough money so that her family could kind of stay a little bit above water. And it's interesting to know that they literally, tea was such an essential thing in their lives. They made enough money for their family to be able to buy tea most of the times, at least the lowest quality of tea. But there was a point once she got a check for writing something beautiful or lovely that was actually published. And with the check, what did she do? She went out immediately and bought Wedgwood china, which is a very classic, traditional, beautiful china here in the UK, because she wanted to have something nice to drink her tea out of. So that was really fun. You hear about all the music in the parlors, and so I wanted to tell you that what she was probably listening to in that time period was Brahms and Beethoven, as well as many other folk songs and folk people. But she enjoyed Brahms and Beethoven. And to her family and to people since then, tea really meant rest and pleasure. And I kind of want to tell you just a little bit about what I've found. If you go on Spotify, which is what I use as my music app because it's located here in the UK, there are many playlists that are the Jane Austen tunes, the Jane Austen classics, and they're really beautiful playlists to listen to. So go on Spotify and look up Jane Austen playlists, and you will be so encouraged by that lovely music. And be sure to make yourself a cup of tea when you listen to it. I think that it's so interesting to see that tea was such a fond part of Austen's life that she actually included it in most of her novels. Tea Time and Pride and Prejudice instantly comes to mind. And so we can see that there are many places where tea was written into the story because tea was just a part of life. And it was a literary tool in her stories to bring the sexes together in one room. And so they could have a stage for all this drama and conversation. And let me see what else. She got an allowance of about 20 pounds a year. That's about $25 a year. And so obviously the wages in those days were a lot different, and she did inherit enough money when her father died to split between her family that they were able to at least stay barely on top of things. But stylish cities in those days, there's Bath, which you have heard of. It's really a fun city to go to, a city for me right now of cafes and historical places, and truly amazing. If you see the waters that are there, the refreshing, healing waters, it really is something to behold. In Northanger Abbey, she wrote about how we often take tea after a dance. And at home, tea was provided to see neighbors in Sense and Sensibility. It said, Sir John never came to the Dashwoods without either inviting them to dine at the park the next day or to drink tea with them that evening. On one particular occasion, he invites her, Sir John invites her and says, actually, I would like to invite you to come for both celebrations. So it's kind of fun to look back into her world, but it's just a fun world to enter into. Her stories are delightful. The drama is delightful. The music is really fun. And I would say that my three favorite books, as well as my three favorite movies, are, first of all, the Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility, the one by Ang Lang, who was the director, because it has so many of my favorite, Anglee. Anglee. It has so many of some of my favorite actors in that one. Emma Thompson, Kate Winslet, Alec Rickman. But also, it is one of the most artistic, beautifully directed and filmed movies that are one of my favorites in all of my movies. So anyway, I think that you would probably enjoy starting out with a novel by her that would be, I would say, Sense and Sensibility or Pride and Prejudice to begin with. That's what I would suggest. So there we go on there. Another thing I wanted to say, and we're moving away from this whole subject of Jane Austen right now. Goodbye, Jane, for a little bit. Some people have talked to me about what kind of candles I use. I have moved over the years from regular candles to get clean-burning, non-toxic candles that are made of soy or beeswax. You can go online and you can just type in non-toxic candles. And I really do like I go to Amazon. It's because I do live in the UK. I don't have a car. I don't have shops to go to. It's easiest for me to look up the non-toxic soy candles there, and that's where I order my candles. But supposedly regular candles emit some kind of a petroleum product that is not as healthy for you. I have used candles my whole life, and I don't seem to have problems with that. However, it's better, I think, if you can, to get non-toxic candles. Now that we know what those kind of candles are. I was going to tell you too about my week. Just a fun thing. You know that the Clarksons absolutely love to celebrate life, and so last week we went to the most fun little place in the world. Actually, I kind of like places like this, but we were celebrating one of my children for something wonderful. And several of us went into London, and there was this little tiny restaurant. And the restaurant served 6 courses, but all of the courses were small. And all of the courses were creative courses. They had nothing to do with each other. But the beginning course, since I had been talking about croquettes the week before, was something absolutely so deliciously wonderful that you couldn't resist it. And no, it was not the healthiest thing in the world. But what they did, they're called macaroni and cheese croquettes. And so you make your macaroni and cheese, and I think there was a little bit of brie cheese in this, and cheddar cheese and all sorts of wonderful cheese. Pretty basic though. And then they rolled it in breadcrumbs and a little bit of salt and just a tiny little bit of spice, I think. And then they basically sautéed these little croquettes. You could probably include a little bit of oil or butter in the breadcrumbs and just bake them in the oven. But it was the most delicious thing I've had in a long time. We had these wonderful apple juice spritzers that were just fantastic. And I'm assuming, I was looking up some things online, you could use apple juice. They had put a little tiny bit of green food coloring in it, so it looked like an apple. But apple juice with any kind of either ginger ale or some kind of a bubbly water. And they had a lemon on top and a little sprig of fresh mint on top. And it was just wonderful. We felt quite stuffed by eating after we ate all of the different. One of them was an imaginary pizza where they had pepperonis on the bottom of this little cup with cheese sauce on it in the middle and little croutons of Parmesan cheese. Oh my goodness, the things that they made were wonderful. But I do think that in the midst of a difficult world, why do we feel okay to celebrate? We are all giving our lives away on a daily basis. I hope you are. We are all sacrificing ourselves in the best ways that we can. But I think that to keep the music playing, to keep the joy alive, as I've said many times, to light the candle in the darkness, to keep peace in your home and a smile on the face, when you keep the rhythms of celebration going, there is hope. There is long-term hope. And so, as you know, I am a person of candlelighting, music playing, celebrating life, walking outside, being in creation, worshiping God, dancing to music, because I desire to keep my soul alive and to keep the souls of other people alive as well. Some of the people have asked me, how in the world do you keep from gaining too much weight? I kind of, over the years, have developed a philosophy of I eat healthy probably about 70% of the time. In other words, I eat salads and vegetables and fruit, and I eat a lot of whole grain if I eat grain, and I eat some chicken and fish and, I just vegetables, soups. But I do splurge a lot. I usually split things with people, or I eat just a couple of bites of something, but I enjoy it. And I never neglect to have my tea and coffee every day. Tea in the morning, then coffee at 10:30, then coffee or tea, probably usually tea in the afternoon, and then a cup of decaf coffee at night with foam on it. So there you go. That's just who I am, but it's a way that I keep things going. I decorate tables. I'm known to do crazy things just to have a little bit of joy during the day. So anyway, people have said, how in the world did you have such big Bible studies in your home? There were times, not all the time, but when I had up to 150 people in my home. And we sat on the stairs going up into my second floor where the bedrooms were. We sat on the floor. We sat in the dining room that looked over the living room. We sat in the entrance foyer. People just wanted to be together. And I would say to my friends, why don't you take turns bringing, a few of you bring something every week and we can snack and have time together. And I would put out water and sometimes I'd put out decaf coffee. But anyway, people helped. It was a real community of women by the time we had built up to that many people. I did it for about 9 years. Now I have dinners and tea times or desserts with my Bible studies here, and they all help bring the desserts. They help bring the snacks. They help bring the food. And it's just the more you involve each other together, the more people feel a part. And then we can ooh and ah over, Susie's bread or so-and-so's almond tartlets or whatever it is. So anyway, it was just a lot of fun. And I've had a lot of fun this week. I wanted to tell all of you a little bit. I'm just so encouraged by how many people are enjoying my book. I guess the publisher sent out a lot of sample copies of books for review to many people, and every single letter I'm getting is how much people love Tea Time Discipleship. It's beautiful. It's inspiring. I love the recipes. I love a peek into your life. I love all the pictures. And so that's exactly what I was hoping. As many of you like the Tea Time Tuesdays, I wanted to make a delightful book to bring a little bit of sunshine into the lives of people who actually listen to my podcasts and enjoy being with me, because I felt like I wanted to be a source of joy in, kind of the music to lift your heart. And so this book, that's what it is. It's stories, it's biblical encouragement, it's recipes, it's prayers. So I wanted to emphasize again, because obviously it's hard sometimes for people to understand all of this, but there are ways to get the gifts that we have provided for people who buy the gifts. It's pre-order gifts. So if you have bought or ordered one of my Tea Time Discipleship books, go to sallyclarkson.com, my blog, and up in the right-hand corner, you'll see a tab that says Tea Time Discipleship. And put your cursor on that, and then it will open you up to a video about my book, but it'll also open you up to, first of all, if you buy one copy, then I made this really fun recording at C.S. Lewis's house with a premier expert on C.S. Lewis, and we talked about the different places that C.S. Lewis talked about tea times in Narnia and in his books, and he told us what the habits of tea were of C.S. Lewis, which was really fun, and he reads one of my very favorite quotations by Lewis on just the gift of friendship and the gathering together with people that you love. And so that's, go ahead and go there, and you'll be able to, if you've pre-ordered the book, you can get your downloadable video. And then if you order 3 or more books, and we're trying to encourage people to buy multiple copies so they can start groups. And I'm going to tell you about a little bit about that in a minute, but I did also put together about a 20 to 25 minute video on the heart of hospitality. What does it look like to have people and to reach people? But what I wanted to tell you, because a lot of people have asked me about this, I have gotten so many letters from people who have said, I made a cup of tea for my boys. I made a cup of tea for my next door neighbor, my coworkers, we just sat for a few minutes and we were friends. And many years ago, I think that many of you know that we had 23 years of conferences, Mom Heart conferences in the United States. Eventually, over 80,000 people attended those conferences. It was so much fun every year. And we had to stop them when COVID stopped because it was more difficult to get hotel conference contracts, because who knew if anybody was ever going to be able to go to a conference again. But anyway, we would have this event early at the conferences called Possibility, TEAs, Possibilities. And then we would challenge all the women who came to these possibilities. We'd say, we're looking for women to decorate one table for 10 people. And so women would come from all over the United States. We had about, our kind of home-based conference was in Texas, and we had usually around 900 women. The ballroom held 1,000, but we needed room for the band and all the other things. So around 900 women from different places all over the world. Sometimes we'd have people from 20 to 30 states and 4 or 5 countries. So they would come, and they would, like maybe one person would take a table of 10 and she would decorate it with her tea things, or somebody else would do flowers, or someone else would do a pretty centerpiece with books. And sometimes they brought favors for the people at their tea table. But it kind of became elaborate and really fun over the years. But if they came to the Possibility, TEA event, then we would challenge them and talk to them about, we would want them to go back home and create groups, a Bible study. It could be a small group, it could be a big group, it could be a book discussion or whatever. And eventually, at one point, I think we had about 5,000 small groups all over the world. It was so much fun to see, and people developed friends from this. And I know that friends are not always a guarantee at groups, and you may or may not find your kindred spirit, but there were many, many people who started groups, who made friends, who grew in their walk with the Lord because they had support systems. And so many people have asked me, are they still going? Well, we have over 4,000 women still involved in small groups. And you might be able to find somebody in your town who is teaching a group, or you might go on to this forum and tell people that you want to start a group in Chicago or New York City or London or whatever. But anyway, if you go to Mom Heart Groups, it is a group you can join on Facebook, and that's where you can find out what people do. It's a kind of a great network of people with similar like-minded ideals. And we would just love to see at least 100 new groups started because of celebrating tea time discipleship and celebrating women and the ability that they have to encourage one another, or to encourage their children, or to encourage their husband or their neighbors, whatever it is. We are so excited to see you be a part of this. So go to Mom Heart Groups on Facebook if you are a person who participates in that. If not, just start your own group. But it's been really fun for me to get letters from women all over the world. From Australia last week, I got several letters, and I've gotten many letters from people in Asia, from South Africa. Different people have started groups because they just needed encouragement. And what a lot of groups do is they'll just take one of my books, and if they're a Mom Heart group, we usually encourage them to use our books. And since I've written 27 books, then you have plenty to draw from. But they'll read a chapter or half a chapter a week, or they'll discuss them. They'll have special times. I always had a special Christmas event where all of the women came to my house, and we all brought our heavy hors d'oeuvres, we called them, whether it was small crab cakes or cheese and crackers or whatever people brought. A lot of Mexican food where I live. And then I also had a potluck in the summer where we spread out all over my yard and my house, where people brought their husbands. So we've used these groups for many things, but I wanted to share a story with you today that I just got from someone. I received this communication recently, and it was so encouraging to me, and I think it might be encouraging to you too. Dear Sally, you don't know me, but I feel like I know you and that you are a dear friend of mine. I have listened to your podcasts over the years and read your books, but I still lacked personal community and friendship and felt alone most of the time. You see, our family is in the military and we move every few years. Finding like-minded women was so hard, but I took your advice about a year ago. I asked a woman over to my house for a tea time, and I told her that I would like to get together just to encourage each other. And so we started by meeting regularly every 2 weeks, and we would listen to one of your podcasts together. Sometimes we would just listen to half of it, sometimes the whole of it. And then that way, nobody had to develop or prepare anything. We would discuss it. We had time just to be friends and to drink our tea or coffee together, depending on whose house we went to. We would laugh, we would cry. We just enjoyed the podcast together so much, and it gave us a point of reference. Eventually, this group, actually my friend and I, grew to 6 women. My friend moved to another base a few months ago, and so we started a similar Zoom group. And now other people are joining us. We have about 12 people between our Zoom group and our home group, but all of us have been deeply changed because we are sharing in the same material and studying the same ideals. We encourage one another from the podcasts and books we have read of yours, and we're giving them to other women on the base who are pregnant as a mother's gift from our group. We particularly liked the Building a Family Culture of Love podcast. I never dreamed we would see so much happen with so little effort, but I no longer feel so alone. Also, I became a reviewer for a publisher for your books. I received a copy of Tea Time Discipleship. It is so beautiful and inspiring, so fun with all of the photos. It's also another life-changing book. I just love it. I don't think people can see how pretty it is by looking at a photograph online. Please, Sally, please keep going and writing and speaking. It means so much to our group. And know that I am praying for you. Love and blessings to you and your family. Signed, K.R. Well, that was such a delight to me, but I thought it might be encouraging to you too, because I do feel like, I think I told you I was reading articles last week about the rise of depression, medication, and suicide, especially amongst young women and teens in the past 2 years. And I thought, oh gosh, we all feel lonely. I have felt lonely many times in my life. Of course, I've moved so much. And oftentimes those of us who have high ideals are usually the ones who lead groups or who are by ourselves and taking care of our family or living into the things that God has called us to. And so when someone asks us over, when someone serves us, when someone makes time, just a little bit of time for a friendship, it means so much, and it's meant so much to me. I have several friends who here in the UK who have really reached out to me and made me feel welcome and made me feel like I am not alone. And so that's just kind of what some of the things I wanted to share with you today, my friends. So be sure and enter into the world of Jane Austen this week. Listen to one of the either Brahms or Beethoven playlists, or go to, I'm sure it's on Apple Music too. It must have. Apple Music and Spotify both have playlists of Jane Austen films. And it's just lovely. It's such a beautiful combination of music. Go out and make yourself some of the macaroni and cheese croquettes. And just go and have a week where you take the time, even in the midst of the busyness, to look deeply into the eyes of those around you. Tell them you love them. Serve them a cup of tea or coffee or whatever it is that you like. And enjoy the day that God has given to you, because He cares for you so much. Let me pray for all of us. Dear Heavenly Father, I'm just overwhelmed by the kindness and the generosity and the love of so many people who are busy, alone, under pressure, and yet they have taken time to give just one cup to their friends or to their groups or to their neighbors. It's just so exciting to see the Holy Spirit motivating many people to reach out. Lord, I pray that you will help us in this very difficult time in history to be those who establish place, who use our homes as a place of beauty and comfort and goodness and friendship, so that our worlds might be a stronger place as we practice heartfelt hospitality right in the place where we live. Lord, bless my precious friends who are listening today If any of them are overwhelmed, please, Lord, bring light and beauty and goodness and fellowship into their lives. Please carry their burdens. Thank you, Lord, for showing me this week in so many ways that you love me, that you're a God of beauty, and that you're a God who is with us, preparing for us a banquet where we will see you face to face and celebrate with our fellow brothers and sisters all over the world and throughout history the goodness and the beauty of your Son, Jesus. We give our lives to you. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, my friends, have a really wonderful week, and I will talk to you again soon. Actually, I have a special podcast for you tomorrow. I hope you enjoy it. Bye-bye. I hope you've enjoyed our time together today and that you'll join me next week. Be sure to look for more inspiration on my blog at sallyclarkson.com. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.